progress, covers the Elevation software platform, which is essential to ML student data management, and provides teacher stipend for training to enhance the instruction for these students. It also pays for additional to be around 4,000 in our upcoming school year. That is equivalent to 17% of our ability to serve our growing population of ML students, which we currently project to be around 4,000 in our upcoming school year. That is equivalent to 17% of our enrollment. Title IV funding Part A impacts student well-being and academic support. It pays for our lead counselor position, a critical position for student mental health and guidance, funds for literacy tutors, which are essential for early intervention and student development. It pays for important family engagement sessions and has supported our PowerSchool analytics software used by our lead counselors to identify and target areas of student need. These are not luxuries. They are fundamental to creating a supportive and enriching learning environment. The withholding of these funds is not just a financial challenge. It's a challenge to our commitment to provide educational excellence for all students. It impacts our ability to provide the resources and support that all of our students deserve. I am thankful and encouraged, along with many others in public education, to see a united team at our state level working tirelessly to resolve this issue. Thank you.
Any questions? Hi.
Hi. Attorney General, has this lawsuit been filed yet?
Yes. And you're all going to get a copy of the lawsuit in the release that we are about to send out momentarily.
And this is not the prior lawsuit about mental health.
I'm not sure what you're referencing, but no, this was filed all of about 15 minutes ago. Okay. Yes.
Lawsuits can take a long time. We're hearing that the effects are being felt already. So what's being done in the meantime, in the immediacy, to kind of combat those?
Well, I'm going to let some other folks speak to stopgap measures. From a legal standpoint, what our lawsuit is requesting specifically is a preliminary injunction. We're asking the court to treat this as an emergency. We are hopeful that we get an outcome before the school year begins. We need this to be resolved within a matter of weeks, not months. That's our goal. As far as stopgap measures, please.
So I'll lift up two stopgap measures. One is that we are having to look for other resources, both at the state and local levels, to try to fill in these gaps. There are, for example, what's called carryover funds, federal funds that can allow for continuation of programs for a limited period of time. And so to the extent that we have some of those available, we'll use those as a potential stopgap measure. The second thing that we have to do is we have to think about actually more dramatic issues and measures as well. Things like considering doing reductions in force, doing things like not filling certain positions, combining classrooms or combining duties because we don't know if and when these resources will ultimately become available.
In relation to that, we know that the Trump administration would like to zero out a lot of these funds come the next fiscal year. What is maybe your mindset for preparing for something like that?
Please.
So as we think about what may happen in future years, we certainly believe that we have to take the time to figure out how we adjust. Number one, see what those resources might be, right? And make adjustments along the way. So there may be some positions that absolutely have to be reduced or eliminated. There may be other ways of trying to fill in those gaps over time as well. There'll be people that leave an organization, and so you might be able to do this without having to do actual reductions in force. But let me be clear about something. When you talk about future years, then you have the opportunity to plan and then execute on the plan. Here, where Congress has already authorized funding, then we were planning to execute on the funding authorized and now find ourselves having to adjust on the fly. And that's not good for certainly educators, and it's horrible for our students as well.
Please.
Along the lines of the state superintendent's comment about future years, the one thing we absolutely need to do to prepare for future years is for our representatives in the Congress to hear from us, to hear from parents, teachers, and citizens across our state on how important these programs are to their children and our children, and because it will take an act of Congress. And so our representatives need to understand how important these are.
Yes.
Is it true that Congress appropriated the funding for these various title programs at the same level as last year, but not with line item appropriations for these sub-programs that didn't come? And so are you asking the court to interpret a gray area about what's required by law?
No, I don't believe we're asking the court to interpret any particular gray area here. With respect to the line item nature of anything that Congress may have approved, we'd have to take a specific look into that, but we do not consider this to be a gray area case. We consider this to be an open and shut case. Yes.
Two questions, one for you, one for Superintendent Green. What specifically did that email read? And then for Superintendent Green, what will be your message to parents who are obviously expecting some sort of disruption, at the very least, probably this next school year? How best should they anticipate this?
As far as the specific email, in the press release that we'll send all of you, it will have a link to the complaint. The complaint language is going to include the email. It was all of 3 sentences, so not a lot of real estate there.
Great. With regards to what can parents expect, so it's going to vary across the state as to what parents can expect the impacts to be. And I know that our educators and our school administrators will be doing everything that they can to try to minimize those impacts as best as possible. It's hard to know, right? At this moment, what will happen in an individual school. They may see, for example, a particular classroom that existed last year that may not exist this year. They may not see, for example, some of the professional development activities that are done behind the scenes to prepare new teachers to do what they need to do when they open up their classrooms this year. But that may result in those teachers not being fully prepared to support students when they arrive. And so what I would tell parents is hang in there with us as we make those adjustments. We'll try to do our best, both at the local level and at the state level, to minimize those impacts, but recognize that this is too significant for us to suggest that there won't be any impacts that aren't felt at the local and even at the state level if we don't get these withhold funds released.
Obviously, the state hasn't passed its budget yet, Mr. Green.
Yes.
Have you had any discussions with any legislative leaders about...
I'm sorry, start your question
Yeah.
again.
The state hasn't passed its budget yet. So have you had any discussions with legislative leaders about maybe what funding might be available from the General Assembly and the media?
Yeah, so at this point, no. Have not had any conversations with members of the General Assembly about this particular impact. Certainly, this adds to a very challenging situation for us. When you break down, I'll give you rough numbers, you're talking about 60% of our dollars comes from the state, 30 or so percent local, and then 10% federal. That varies across districts, but on average. And so now we're talking about 60% of a budget that we don't know exactly what we're going to get, and now we've added on to this. This is a significant challenge for us. This is in line, though, with something that Chairman Davis lifted up about what we need to do for future years. I would suggest to you that we need to do that for this year as well, particularly at the state level, because they haven't passed a budget. Now is a good time for them to pass a budget that will, in fact, allow our students to receive the educational opportunities they so richly deserve. And seeing what's happening at the federal level, I would encourage them to think about whether they need to increase funding to allow us to be able to do that.
She's got a question.
Okay.
This is a question, just a ballpark estimate perhaps. How much about, you say you have some stopgap money, continuation money, et cetera. about how much or how long we have?
Yeah. So it's going to vary depending on which title that we're talking about. But in general, you're talking about 3 months at the outside. In some, it's going to be less than that. Yeah, and then as stopgap measures, you're also thinking about, well, what other places might you be able to move some resources around as well? And so all of those things have to be taken into consideration. But we don't have a long window within which to deal with this issue. And in some instances, as I said earlier, school has started, and so we've got to deal with those issues right now.
And just for the chamber.
Okay.
State lawmakers proposed basically banning you from suing the federal government this year. Did that ever become, did it get passed?
It passed one chamber, but not the other. I think this is a great example of why not to do something like that. This is potentially $165 million to the state. This is why you want an independent attorney general who has the authority to do exactly this thing. I think Shima had a question for you.
Yes.
Superintendent Green, can you talk a little bit about what are you hearing from school districts about how this is affecting them during their hiring season?
I'm hearing a lot, and our staff is hearing a lot about the impacts to